This is a podcast. I'm your host, John Maloney of The Loney Show.
I'm your host, Eric Taylor of Taylor Rate Me.
Hey, what's up, guys? Jacob Shadowminer here. Haven't said that in a while. Kind of been off YouTube in a while, but hey, what's up?
All right, let's get started.
All right, so
Yes,
we've
lots of
decided.
entry
So
stuff.
so we've all decided to come together to discuss one particular topic that is so very close to our dear hearts. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be too. There's like a group of individuals. We like to call them Turtle Bros, and stomp, stomp, stomp is their gimmick, kind of.
Yeah,
I know.
not such a good group of guys. Let's just say that.
No,
Yeah,
some of them are I don't know. I'm not gonna say they're not a good group of guys. I'm pretty sure they're great people. And look, I'm trying to turn over a new leaf. I'm trying to see the good. I'm trying to see the good. I'm pretty sure they are great people, but they just happen to do some shady stuff. They just happen to do some shady stuff like behind people's backs, and we're going to talk about that.
Yeah. So where do we want to get started with this? Because we got lots of receipts here. So
All
So
right.
yeah, how about we start from the very? How about we start with how did we start in the journey? We might
yeah.
Okay.
say.
So how about we do this? Like Jamie, you since it's like your show stuff, you can start with like your story, like how you got into Byte, and then like all that, and then like Eric can say his thing, and then I'll just like say after.
How I got started on this. Well, actually, before I get into my bit, we need to know about what specifically. We know about an app and the group of Turtle Bros, but we don't know exactly what it is. So
Yeah.
long ago, one guy. This is the same guy that made Vine, or at least founded Vine. Now, when Vine got shut down, uh, this lad that we all know as Daddy Dom or Dom Hoffman, most people he's referring him to.
Wait,
He
people
was a
call
bit
him
bummed
Daddy
out.
Dom.
They were like, I'll get to that part later.
Okay.
In
Yeah, yeah.
along the I
I
can't
was like,
speak
who's
today.
called him that? Like,
I'll get to that later. So
okay.
Dom Hoffman was bummed down that Fine got shut down, so he wants to kind of revive it in a way. V2. Initially, it wasn't going to call it V2 because of legal problems. However, just before the so-called V2 was going to be launched, another group of independent individual released V2, which I was a part of, and I saw on the Byte community forums just after the whole debacle about V2 thing. Hey guys, V2 is not our project. We can't name it that because of legal problems, whatever. So it's way further back than a lot of people would expect. So I was on V2 thinking it was like a revival of Vine. It's just some group of guys just taking advantage of the hype, you know? And then when V2 got shut down, I was mainly proactive on the forums throughout early 2019. And throughout 2019, I got the so-called biters after Dom Hoffman was like give, given the green light saying new app called Byte. Now, there's not much going on in the forums between 2019 until whatever, but the Byte community forum was a very special place, and of course, it was the centerpiece for the Byte app later launch. I was originally part of the beta testers, and I've took advantage of the beta in its early stages, and then eventually, when it released on January 24th, whatever, of 2020, Byte was live to the world, and everyone was all talking about it for like the first few weeks, and then it just a bit. But then eventually, it went back up again in the rise of Donald Trump wanting to get rid of TikTok, whatever.
which
This is
which I
where
was all for.
the yes, exactly. He was all for it. And this was where the wave of so-called TikTok users came in and flocked to Byte in the event that TikTok may get banned in the US. And this is the part where these users who flocked over TikTok was referring Dom Hoffman as Granddaddy Dom, whatever. So that's where it comes from.
Okay, Granddaddy Dom. What? Grand.
Or Daddy
Yeah,
Dom. Whatever. I know.
not the proudest moment of Byte, but it's a very, very sentimental part. Let's just say the least. So
Calling him Granddaddy Dom?
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, look, that's just.
Okay.
So, and in the time period when the TikTok users came over the Byte, and well, when the TikTok users came over, they really set the precedent for Byte's presence. Like a lot of moments came from users in particular. There were lots of events and tea spilling everywhere, and wow, it's to keep track of, and I think for many of the OG biters, they didn't see it coming, and at one
Yeah.
point, Dom Hoffman was taking a lot of suggestions from these TikTok users, which I appreciate. Dom Hoffman tried listening to the community, but what about the people that came before it? That's just me personally.
Yeah,
Like,
there were some pretty like not good changes for Byte at the time that
All
kind
right.
of like turned Byte into something that it
Yeah.
shouldn't
Okay.
be.
Okay.
yeah.
So pretty. Okay. So yeah. Pretty much. Okay. So here's my story. Pretty much like I started. So pretty much I was scrolling through Instagram. I was scrolling through Instagram because I was bored. I was bored. I was pretty much, I had nothing to do during the pandemic. And then, even I heard that like, TikTok was gonna be banned, and I was all for it. I was like, yeah, ban it, ban it. I don't like TikTok. I don't like TikTok. I'm sorry. I just don't.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's good. I don't think it's good for anybody to like scroll for 3 hours on like an app. So, I was all for it. And then I saw this one app. It popped up with an amazing ad. Well, okay, subpar ad. And I was like, this looks interesting. Then I download the app when it was, I believe it was still in beta at the time. So I download the app, and yeah, I pretty much got started, and pretty much I started making content on the app because like I thought it was interesting. And yeah, and then I started seeing some things on there. I mean, at first I didn't really care, but like I started seeing some things on there. I started seeing like well-known celebrities, whether if they were influencers that I followed or professional wrestlers that I've watched on television before using the app, and I'm like, I was trying to wonder what was going on. I'm like, bro, what was going on? It's like they were using the app once and they don't.
Hold on.
Huh?
Wait. So which beta are you talking about here? Because this is the
Sorry,
part of the story we haven't got to. So
oh, my bad.
Byte beta in like September to December 2019, and then plot launch in January 27, 2020.
Oh,
Yeah.
I remember you were part of another app beta, weren't you?
yeah, I was part of Clash.
Like before the merge.
Eric never really got to experience like the Byte side of things. He mainly got to see the Clash side of things.
Yeah.
But he does fully understand the whole Byte situation too.
Yeah, I do. I'm just saying like what I saw in Clash.
Yeah, so
And believe me, once I start telling my stuff, there is a good amount of stuff from the Clash side too that's kind of like, yeah, it's kind of effed up.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely, it definitely is messed up, and it's like also, yeah, I just kept like a lot of things were suspicious because like I was seeing like people that I know wouldn't have went on that app for free go on that app, and I'm like after like 1 or 2 videos, maybe even 3, they stopped using the app. I'm like, why? And then I realized it's because they were getting paid off to like use the app just to give it more publicity. It's whatever though. But yeah, it's like then I started discovering more things about the app, and I was like, oh my god. I was disappointed with the app, but at the same time, I was extremely optimistic that the app would get better and get better and get better and get better. And then eventually, they turned then they purchased Byte. And like
oh
now
yes,
Byte.
I think it was like January 26th of 2021. It was announced that Clash which was another short form video app. They said they wanted to, after they released, after Clash launched in like August of 2020, at the during the turn of the TikTok wave onto Byte.
And they wanted to try and clash with TikTok. That is such a
I see what they did there.
I saw what they did there. It was clever, but it was kind of cringe because you did not clash with anybody. You weren't even close. You probably gave them a little scratch, but they put a Band-Aid on and they pretty much crushed you. That's all I'm gonna say. They crushed them. Obviously, shoot.
And I think they were gonna call themselves Wave, like surfing with the waves, dude. Like Wave Media.
Come on, dude. Let's surf the wave.
I'm not gonna lie. That just sounds like they're trying to get. That just sounds like old geezers who are trying to get with the times. Like let's call our app. Let's call our app. Let's call our app Wave, man. Because we're on the new wave, man. Plus, aren't they from Florida? Or
they're all, well, some of them are from Ohio. Like, not every single one of them is from California, but they were trying to get that. We understand from Kyle, and we'll explain to you who Kyle is here in a second. Maybe Eric can explain too. They were trying to go for this California surfs up sorted freaking vibe, and that's kind of like why we call them Turtle Bros. Because like, if you ever watched like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and then like seeing these guys, you're like, yeah, it's the completely same people.
Yeah. There's like, I can see the connection now. It actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. And I'm not gonna lie. What did we used to call them? Like, the Money Crew or something like that.
Yeah, like for the longest time, because that's all it seemed like they were focused on. And I mean, that's what they really are focused on is money, just doing anything they can to make money. We call them, like, because they used to call themselves Clash and now Huddles and all this good stuff. We call them the Cash Team because that's all they want to do is get people money.
Yeah, like, they called themselves the Clash Team. We called them the Cash Team because, like, that's exactly what, like, they were, man. They would do anything for the money. That's the thing. That's the thing, bro. Instead of, like, trying to improve their app, like, they were thinking about what their next hustle was going to be, bro. What their next, like, short-term hustle was going to be. Like, first it was this app. Now we don't even know what they're going to do now. Like, bro, I'll be honest. And, like, we'll get to, like, the new name of, like, the app in a minute. But, like, it's still, like, bro, they did anything for the money. They didn't care. They didn't care about the app. They didn't care about improving it. They did not care. They didn't care about the creators whatsoever.
I mean, they tried, did put an effort, but it's just, for me personally, it just didn't feel that genuine as I hoped it would be.
And as like, girl would say, nah, never mind. They just never mind. But anyways, yeah, they tried, and there were people who actually were trying to put in effort. Like, Kyle was trying to put in effort, obviously, but then then that just didn't work out.
Justice for Kyle.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, justice for him. But, like, that pretty much didn't work out between the two. So, like, then they just got worse from there. They pretty much took one guy. They took one guy who was actually trying, and they fired him.
By the way, just for the audience, who is Kyle? How do we meet Kyle?
Oh, you talking to me? Oh, anyways. Oh, pretty much, like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were gonna explain, like, who Kyle was.
Oh, okay, like, yeah. Never mind. I kind of like this kind of vibe we're doing, where it's like Jamie did the Byte side, you did the Clash side. I'll just do like the overall kind of like
pretty much, because I think you've known Kyle longer than me, so yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Wait.
So who's speaking?
Yeah, who's Kyle?
I was thinking, are you done with your story, Eric?
Oh, no, I'm not. I was waiting for you to, like, explain who Kyle was.
I'll explain who Kyle is more where it's time for my part. That way they get the overall,
okay.
like, yeah.
Well, the point is, where was I up to? Okay, I'm just gonna, like, go off the dome. Pretty much, yeah. They took one person that was actually trying to put in effort, and they fired him. That's all I gotta say.
So,
Yeah.
Jacob, who is Kyle anyway? For the
All right.
listeners.
So I'm guessing Eric, you're done with your side of the story.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Because I mean, the Clash side, it's well for you at least, it wasn't that much to it. So before I get in the whole story, brief overview, and then I'll tell you guys like the whole part of who Kyle was, like just so you guys know like the whole situation here, like the whole lowdown, the whole everything. So Kyle was this amazing person. I obviously like Jamie. I was in Byte for a long time. So being approached by somebody on the enemy team was kind of like oh my, I'm doing something extremely dirty. So just like a brief overview of who Kyle was, and then I'll explain more during my whole story. But Kyle was this person that reached out to me whenever I just felt like Byte wasn't going anywhere. Same as like all the other users. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. This team is doing something great. They're building a content creator community. They're making Clash creators very similar to how Byte creators were, and I was being invited because usually I'm never invited to stuff like that. So I'm being invited by this dude who believed in me, and yeah, it over time, like I had my job, and at this time I was also taking a break, but then I got to realizing, hey, this is my chance. This is my chance to be big on a up and coming platform. This is not the chance I ever had on YouTube. This is not the chance I ever had on Vine, because Vine was just too, I was in middle school. I didn't really have a chance to do stuff like that. So this is my chance. So Kyle and I talked, and he would like every day every single one of us every day he would push us to do something new, push us to do something exciting. And in short, basically, before I get in my story, that is what created Clash. And if Byte were to stay around and it wasn't shut down, that would have been something that could have helped Byte become something big. Like if you people look up to their content creators. It doesn't matter what platform you're on, whether it's YouTube, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. Everyone has a content creator or a group of content creators that they look up to. I mean, that's just life, like everyone has someone they try to model themselves after, and then not try to be them, but more or less get their ideas and stuff. And then that's just what art is. It's like being inspired by someone and then and then adding your own twist to it, and then continuing the legacy of someone you looked up to, but also doing something different. So, basically, that's what Kyle was. That's what his content creator group was. He wanted a group of people very similar, like PewDiePie, Markiplier, the Kim Kardashians, the people that everyone look up to. He wanted us to be them people, and that's why I felt, and Eric felt, and everyone felt so special, because it's like we're the people that these smaller content creators coming on this platform are looking up to. Like we're the people that are taking center stage now, which is like, again, a very hard thing to do on most other platforms. YouTube has been around since 1990. And like even trying to get on the front page of that, you had to that's like way before any of us were born. So that's kind of like a hard thing to do. Twitch, I mean, gosh, it's hard to climb. I mean, some people say it's easy, but it's kind of hard to climb the ranks of Twitch, because you have all these other different streamers, people that are probably streaming 24 hours a day. Then you have like some streamers that have like such a huge following on other platforms that they bring their platform over to that platform. It's just in today's world, it's just so hard to get in on the ground floor anymore. So like being in on the ground floor on Byte and then getting in on the ground floor on Clash, it was like a dream come true because like these were both, and again, these were both marketed as Vine 2, even though Vine was owned by Twitter. And there is talk of Vine coming back, but I don't know. That's just hearsay. Vine was owned by Twitter, and you can't do anything Vine related. And I guess this is going to get like kind of get in my story, but Vine 2, I believe the team was almost sued for using Vine 2 by Twitter. So that's why they had to like quickly move over to Byte because if you mentioned anything Vine related, Twitter's kind of very, very similar to how Nintendo and their ninjas go after people. Gosh dang, I love Nintendo, but my gosh, those ninjas, they're freaking lethal.
Dang.
Yeah. Twitter had those ninjas and they were, Turtle Bro reference too. Twitter had them ninjas, and man, if you mentioned anything Vine, they were going after you. Now, if it was like a compilation, like after Vine died and everything, like all these Vine compilate, and they still do very well today. All these Vine compilations were all over YouTube, all that kind of stuff. So, just to have that be like a thing that it gave people hope for like a brief second, and then it kind of died off. And then Byte came to existence, and then everybody's happy. I guess that's where I'm going to get in my story basically too. But yeah, they tried doing the whole Vine 2 thing, but Twitter kind of snuffed it out. But now it's kind of ironic today because now Vine has the chance to come back because Elon Musk bought Twitter. No matter what you think about Elon Musk, we all have like our different ideas and thoughts about Elon Musk. I think personally, Elon Musk has enabled a lot of things for Twitter, and the possibility of Vine to come back, I'm happy as a content creator. Like that brings joy to me. So, but anyways, speaking of Vine 2, I guess this is where my story begins. Back in, and I'm going to go all the way back to Vine, even though I didn't really get to experience it like a lot of people got to experience it. There was a brief, I'd say week or two. All my friends had all these fancy iPhones and all that kind of stuff, and I just had like a simple Samsung phone and stuff like that. And for a while I was like really into Samsung, but now I also, because of all my friends, I've gotten into the iPhone ecosystem. And once it's kind of hard, like once you get into that ecosystem, it's kind of hard to go back. So, but I just had my simple Samsung phone. I was like, oh man, I hope I'm not too late to this Vine train. Because like everybody was talking about it. They were talking about all their favorite creators. And for like a solid week, where I actually got into it, I was watching, like, my favorite creator was Marlon Webb. Dude's like amazing. He still makes TikToks today. It's really funny. I didn't really get into too much of Vine, but over the past 2 to 3 years during my break, I've been getting to know more about Viners that I really wish I would have had the chance to have done in middle school, which is around the time that Vine was launched and stuff. So I got to use Vine for a week, got to see my favorite creators. I think I made one Vine. Now this is very important but after Vine shut down, they had a tool that allowed you to go back to the website. It's like an archive almost, and try to find your stuff. I could never find my stuff. I typed in Jacob Shadowminer, all these different names. I don't even know like what name I used for Vine back then, because I think Jacob Shadowminer was something I've always used since middle school. So, but anyways, so I heard that Vine was shutting down the second week. The second week that I was using it, I was like, wait, there's no way, because like I just got into this thing. All my friends before were already using it, so it's like there's no way. the shutdown happens. All these creators are upset. This is about the time I wasn't, into the whole content creator ecosystem. So at the time I didn't understand the whole situation of it all, why it even shut down. But all I know is like everybody like for the past or after was like, we need Vine 2. We need the second coming of Vine, and that's kind of like where the story I thought would end. Like for all my high school career, we were all left wanting more. Like we wanted a short form platform. Like for me, that's what got me into Instagram. That's what got me into Twitter more. That's like the crave to want more Vine got me into all these other like YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. If it wasn't, and it really is kind of funny and very, very iconic if you think about it. If it wasn't for Vine, I don't believe I would have ever made the leap to make a YouTube channel. If it wasn't for Vine, I don't think I would have ever gotten on Instagram or Twitter or anything. I would have just really stayed off the internet, probably got into the internet more later on in high school, obviously, because all my friends and stuff would have done it. But I would have never had this passion. If I would have never had the passion to create, and like I said, Vine was that passion to be a creator, I believe I would have just stuck on my path because I had a dead set path in middle school. At the time, Minecraft was very popular. It still is very popular. I watched this documentary on the team behind Minecraft, and I was like, yeah, I want to be a developer. I want to be a game developer. Like, that's it. I don't want to do any of this fancy YouTube stuff. I don't want to be a designer. And now looking back at that and looking at today, I'm like very much into design, very much into YouTube and content creating, all that kind of stuff. So if I would have never had Vine, I would have never had the drive to do anything I do today. So I don't even think Sagamatic Studios would have been created today. And I don't think I would have like understood what content creating truly is. So after Vine shut down, I started a YouTube channel. This is where I was getting into digital media and all that kind of stuff. And this is like high school, freshman year. My friends wanted me to make a YouTube channel as like a joke. So they're like, okay, yeah, I'll make a YouTube channel. So I made a YouTube channel. Me and my friends sat on the phone for like hours. So I wanted to make a memorable YouTube channel. I wanted to make something that was different than everybody else, than what they were doing. And I liked Markiplier. I liked Captain Sparkles, and I liked ninjas, and I liked Minecraft. So me and my friend Danny, and not many people hear about Danny. I don't really get to talk to him that much, but me and my middle school best friend Danny sat on the phone for a long time coming up with a name, and that's where Jacob Shademeyer came from. I don't want to go over the whole high school story, but essentially over time, at every class I would do digital media projects, I would put my projects on YouTube as like a funny kind of joke. And throughout high school, anytime I wouldn't upload, I would have my friends, because like it's my YouTube share like spread across to my one friend, which you guys know how high school is. And then it spread to the band kids, then it spread to the sports teams, then it spread to the teachers. Yeah, the teachers actually watched me on YouTube. It was very funny. And then it spread to like other schools by the time I was a senior. Didn't know that would ever happen, but that's the internet. So that's like the brief history of me and being a content creator and what got me into the whole thing and all that. So about 2018, 2019, this is whenever the hype of a Vine 2 was born. Around the Vine 2 era, I never really got into the Byte forums around that time because I didn't really know that existed. All I knew is that Vine 2 was happening, and oh my gosh, everybody was talking about it. Even though you had Musical.ly, and even though at the time you had TikTok launch too, that was a dancing app. Everybody wanted Vine back. The 6 seconds, the 16 seconds. They wanted the short videos back. All the Vine creators were talking about it. Some of it were opposing it because of, the history of Vine. And I was just excited. Like all of high school, at one point I thought during high school it would launch, but it didn't. Like Johnny said, it kind of had a pause. The team behind it, I think they got sued by Twitter, so they had to like come up with a different strategy to relaunch it and all that kind of stuff. So to me, on my end, because I didn't know the Byte forms existed, I just thought the project was over. And I thought that YouTube was going to be like my go-to place. I was going to found the studio. We are going to make series, movies, games. Like I thought that's it. And after about, well, I would say when I was in college and stuff for a brief few months or whatever, I started getting this message again that Byte, the second coming of Vine, is coming. So I'm like, okay, it's been after I graduated, like way after I graduated. So I thought, okay, this is kind of picking up again. So I put in my application to be a tester, really not thinking much of it. Then like this, could I say this was like wave 2? Because there was like, I believe, like Johnny, I think there was like 3 waves, right? 3
Yeah.
4 waves, something like that. Waves, get it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I think I came in the second wave of beta testers, and I got accepted because I thought, okay, I would never get accepted into something like this. And I started using Byte. All the nostalgia started coming back. At the time, Byte was like a very simple, your mix page or your For You page was basically one algorithm, one thing at the time, and you would scroll through the thing and it was practically done in like 10 seconds. And then over time, Byte kind of evolved into this thing where you had like your mix, and then you had like following mix, and then you would go through your following, and then you go through your mix, and you'd be done for the day. Then they started introducing channels, which I had my favorite channel, which was the gaming channel, and the funny channel, which I think John May could say was a lot. The funny channel was a lot of people's favorite channel on Byte, because that was what was the thing on Vine. So people, ecosystem started evolving. You had like the Hype House. I think that was more of a Clash thing. You had the Byte Treehouse. You had all these different communities growing from this one app, and it seemed like for about a year or so, it seemed like it was going places. And at the time, I was focusing all my energy on it, even though like after college, I decided to take a break because like I had all these ideas, but I just didn't have the time or resources to make them happen. So Byte was like the next best thing for me because it took no time at all to make a video. TikTok was an option, but TikTok was more of like okay, my friends are doing it, so I have to have to use TikTok because my friends are using it. But I'm more connected with Byte and the message behind Byte and all this stuff. So and then that's where I got introduced to the Byte forums, and I started like actually getting involved in the community more and making these video ideas that I had on YouTube on Byte. Perfect, like life was going great and all that kind of stuff. Then about 2020, 2019, COVID happened. The Byte team sort of didn't get to do the stuff they want to do anymore. I think that's when Byte started like knowing, yeah, this is a bit of a challenging atmosphere to make an app in. So that's when I was like, okay, I'm just frustrated because at that point I wanted to make merch. I wanted to see Byte go where I thought Byte could have been. At that point, I was like all in. Like I wanted to make merch for myself. I wanted to make merch for Byte. I wanted to see where this thing could go. Then this is where we get into the Clash side and how I kind of got over to Clash and how I got introduced into their ecosystem and all that. So around, I'd say 1 week or whatever, I was just like down in the dumps because I felt like Byte wasn't going anywhere. I felt like I was making stuff just to make stuff, and usually when it's like it's burnout basically. When you get burnt out, it's like you're feeling all these different things, and it's like, man, I just feel like I'm not doing. I feel like I'm making something for nothing, and that's where Kyle reached out to me. He's like, "Hey, I noticed you're on Byte, and you're like really passionate about all this stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't want to leave Byte though, because at the time I felt like leaving Byte was a betrayal. Like once he told me the whole story, he actually got my number, which I was like, okay. At the time I felt like I was talking to a famous person, which I kind of am because Kyle is kind of wanting to be an actor these days, but I got his number. We talked for like a solid 2 hours. He convinced me to join Clash, but man, it took some convincing because like I felt like abandoning Byte and leaving Byte was like the ultimate backstab betrayal. Cause like I'd made all these friends, we'd have these game nights, we'd all hang out. It was really fun. I felt like joining the enemy team was like the ultimate backstab betrayal, and I kind of was right if you see the way things turned out today. But I felt like it was the ultimate backstab betrayal. I decided to bite the bullet, and I do say it was one of the worst and also best decisions I made because it shaped who I am today. I joined Kyle, met Eric, met Jasmine, I think that's what her name was, met a lot of awesome people. And that's where I started realizing, okay, he's making it like very similar to Vine. He's making a content creator group. And that's what, at the end of the day, I started realizing that's what made Vine what it was. It was a group of people who all made content together, and that's what people were looking up to. So I thought, okay, this makes sense. So we would do like, all these kind of events. We do all these kind of creator hashtags, creator ideas. We all get together every week, like have a meeting. It felt like I was right back on Byte with the game nights, but it was more. Like we did Among Us, we did like all these cool things, and and if it wasn't for Kyle, I would not have met my best friends and Damo, aka Executioner, who owns Good Luck Media. I would have never met Eric. I would have never met, all these amazing people. And I just felt like, dude, this was it. Like, even though half of the people on Byte felt like I backstabbed and betrayed them, and I don't think a lot of those people see that like after the whole. I think people see it differently now today, but man, I could live with that. Like for the longest time, I felt like, man, this was what I always wanted. Like I could live with this. Like I could wake up every day, do these content creator hashtags, hang out after I get off work with Andamo, Eric, and everyone, and play games. I could do this. Like I could live with this for like the rest of my life and be happy knowing that I'm making some sort of difference in the world. And that's something I've always wanted to do is make and always will want to do is make a difference in the world. So I thought nothing of it. Like over time, Kyle would tell each and every one of us like some insider secrets, like, yo, here's a merch drop coming, here's what's going on with Byte. They're losing money, like he would drop little hints and secrets to us. And that's why Kyle was such a great guy, because Kyle was your insider. You're the person that just started the job, and he's the guy that knows all the ropes, the tricks, and secrets to make your job that much more fun and much more better. So over time, Kyle started dropping more secrets, but there's one big secret he couldn't drop, and that was the fact that they're buying that Byte was going to be acquired by Clash. At the time, I started getting back into Byte a little bit, so I started thinking, man, this place is just dead all of a sudden. And then the big announcement happens that Clash is acquiring Byte, and that we were now. This is where the big lie comes into. This is where shady things started happening. we were led to believe that Byte would be its own app and Clash would be its like the parent company, the monetization platform. That was far from the truth. That was actually a big hoax of many. But I thought, okay, we had this thing going with Clash. I had this thing going. Eric had this thing. Everyone was going to continue to live their lives the same way. The game nights, the hanging out, the creator hashtags. I thought it was going to be untouched after the Byte acquisition. I thought, heck, you know what? I'm going to show all these people on Byte how awesome things were, even though a lot of them felt like I backstabbed them. I wanted people to experience how awesome it was to take the aspect that Byte had, which was hanging out and then having this group of people that would always play games every night, and then have this idea of like content creator hashtags. I thought that would be like the perfect mix, and that we'd continue doing these game nights and hanging out and all this stuff. Far from the truth, the day that Byte was actually acquired, we were told that Kyle was fired. I took that. Eric took that. I think we all took that like very personally, because we didn't see why he should have been let go. We were told his job was no longer needed, which I don't agree with. We were told he didn't do a good job. I thought he did a fantastic job, and he was the one that personally, I believe, carried Clash to where it was before the Byte merger. And then after I just sort of stopped talking to everyone, I felt betrayed. I think Eric felt betrayed. And then we kind of started coming together as more weird things started happening. Like the Clash team would not, like for the first week, the Clash team made Byte merch. They fulfilled the promises the Byte team couldn't fulfill. So that's what kind of gave us some false hope a little bit. Then after things kind of dropped off, Clash would do things to people that they wouldn't say what they were doing. And it was very, very sketchy. I didn't like that. I didn't like not being in the know. I mean, everybody, to a point, like I shouldn't have been that way, but then again, it's like we should, because even though like I've grown up with a Nintendo and everybody's grown up with a Nintendo, and like, and like companies like Valve and Steam games like have like even though like a lot of us grew up with companies that have been secretive about their game launches and their products and stuff, it's not a good thing to keep your audience out of the loop what you're doing. Because at the end of the day, Nintendo and Valve and even like Marvel and all these big entertainment groups, they still give you teasers. If they were going bankrupt, they will give you oh my gosh, this is happening. We need your help. They will, at the end of the day, they will tell you, they will be openly transparent about what's going on. That is not at all what Clash did. That is not at all what Huddles did. And that is not at all what whatever they're calling themselves now did. For the longest, I would say year, we would do things. We were just continuing to make videos on Byte. And then out of the blue, we were told Byte would be shut down in favor of Clash. I thought, at that point, we're all burnt out. We don't care. So it's like, okay, as long as you promise you're going to update us this time. Clash Byte got rebranded to Clash. Same thing. We weren't told anything. They did kind of fulfill their drop promise after a while. So people did start getting paid a little bit. I'm surprised about that, by the way. Then we start learning some lies, and we start understanding their motive. Now we're up to speed with the whole story. At least I would say that's like the more longer version with some parts skipped, because if we were to talk about the whole story of Byte Vine, we could be here for probably 10 episodes. And I think we will be doing like a part 2 episode for this because there's just so much to unravel. But basically, we started learning the truth behind Clash and Huddles and Vine. They weren't making this app for the creators at all. They weren't making this to redo Vine. They were just doing this for a quick money grab scheme. And I don't like throwing words like that around. I don't like throwing certain people under the bus because, like, Kyle, great guy, had nothing to do with it. I'm glad he left. I'm actually glad he got away from that. Courtney, which is another person I became best friends with, I'm glad she's out. Corey, which is this guy that took Kyle's job, I don't know how to say about him because he was the guy that took Kyle's job, but he was like a part of the group. Let's just say that. I'll leave that there. But they were all doing this because one, and I'll go over their scheme in detail, and then maybe in the next episode we can talk about it more in depth. But he basically did it. All of them did it. Brendan, Corey. I don't like dropping names, but this whole thing, I can't. It's out there. Like you can see it. Like if you didn't know this whole thing existed, you can go onto their app and see the malicious and horrible things that they're doing to people, like without even having to have the explanation. They did it because one, they bought the Byte community just to get an injection into their app, just to get a user base injection to their app. They had no plans to upkeep the community. They have no plans to upkeep the app. They just wanted to bring in an investor to pay them money while doing nothing. And this is where we started noticing they were going to parties. They were wasting money on useless things like launch parties. Like Eric said, for the longest time that Clash existed, they were paying people to join the app and engage. And Kyle told me this too. This is how we know about this. Kyle was like I said earlier, Kyle was their inside guy. They would pay content creators, boxers, influential people. I don't even want to drop names because most of these content creators are very good content creators today. And at the end of the day, if someone's paying you to do something, you're not going to want to say no. So basically, they would pay people to interact with people. They would pay people to make it look like the app was engaging with its audience when at the end of the day, it was not. And then that's why you had these people that would join Clash, join Huddles, which we'll get into that here in a second, and then dip, then leave. Adios, bye. They would leave. No more making videos, no more liking people's content. They left because they got the paycheck and they left. And all of that adds up. Wasting money on parties, wasting money on useless things. That all adds up, right? And there is no way that you're doing this whole thing trying to build a community. You don't throw money at something that is failing for no reason, right? And there's a reason I bring that up because there's a lot behind this whole scheme to delve into, because even though most of it might not be true, and maybe these guys are completely not evil as we think they are, but it just doesn't make sense to us why they went about things the way they went about things. So, Huddles, let's get into that. Now that you guys know about the whole Clash thing and how they would pay creators and waste money on parties and all this kind of stuff. Some genius got the idea that making videos on this app was no longer viable. They couldn't do it. They couldn't make an algorithm. They couldn't moderate the platform. They just couldn't do it. So they dropped they dropped the whole thing. They stopped making videos. They said they're rebranding to Huddles. We thought they were rebranding Byte, but that's another thing. Again, we were lied to. Now the platform is just a shell. It's just a Patreon ripoff at this point. They rebranded to Huddles, Huddle Dude, and at this point, we've been dragged on for so long. Each and every one of us, we've all felt this sense of rage because we were dragged on for so long to believe that what we're creating content for was a platform that we believed could have been the next Vine. I stopped doing YouTube to focus on this platform. And I have all my friends message me, hey, you good? People I met from Byte and Clash, hey, you good? Are you making videos? Yeah, I'm making videos, but I'm making videos for a dead platform, right? Like nobody knew I was making content. People thought I was just being lazy. People thought I was not making content, but that is far from the truth. If I downloaded all my videos on Byte, Clash, Huddles, whatever it is, if I downloaded all those videos, right, since I'm just now getting back into YouTube, I would have content, even if I combined the short videos, even if I uploaded on TikTok today with all those bites I made, I would have content to publish for a whole year without having to make something new. If I was lazy, that is, because I'm not, lazy. I'm all about doing and creating all this stuff. But if I was lazy and I wanted to re-upload my entire backlog of stuff I made for Clash and Byte, I would have enough content to publish for a whole year and not have to worry about touching a camera or touching my computer or any editing software whatsoever. If I wanted to upload to YouTube, I would have enough content, even combining my videos into these 10-minute videos a day. I would have enough content to publish for a half a year, not even having to worry about anything like that. So we were all pissed. I was pissed because I had people, I'm pretty sure everybody else had the same thing too. We were all probably getting messaged. I was getting messaged at least asking, where's my videos? I had videos. Jame had videos. Everyone had videos. We just weren't getting seen. Nobody was seeing our videos. We're publishing on an app that's practically dead at this point. Then after the whole Huddles rebranding and everything, the final hope, I guess you could say, that's when things just stopped. That's when we all got sick of it. They shut down their Discord server, and they did it for a malicious reason because this was the end of their scheme. This is their exit point. This is their final middle finger to us as content creators. And this is what now that you guys are caught up with the whole story, this is what, after we all quit, after we all went on to our own separate things, after I started getting back into my studio and getting back into my projects, feeling hurt and feeling betrayed and all that stuff, now it's just behind me. The final thing happens, the big middle finger, and not just us, not just the community, but the Vine team that created Vine. Their big scheme.
Investors.
Yeah. Their big scheme, and this is, I guess, where, we can sort of summarize after this and finish up and all that. Their big scheme was to not only hurt us content creators, it goes much more deeper into that. Their big scheme wasn't to create a platform. It was not to create a community for Viners. It was not to help people get paid. Their scheme was to buy Byte. This is the first part. Their scheme was to buy Byte, to number one, get revenge on the former Vine team for what they thought they did to them. So I'll run through this quickly, but what really happened to Vine, I don't want to say too much because I made a promise. We made a promise not to like throw certain people under a bus for mentioning this, but Vine, the Vine creators came to Twitter, and this is why I sort of had a little bit of a hatred towards the old Twitter team a little bit. Viners came to Twitter one day. This is the day before they were shutting down, and Kyle and Corey, Brendan, everyone that was on the Clash team, Huddle's team, was a part of this meeting, as far as I'm aware. They all went to the big meeting the day before they were about to close down Vine, and supposedly they came to an agreement that because all these Viners weren't getting paid because Twitter and Vine didn't have the resources to pay for these creators. So I believe they came to an agreement to go forward, and the Viners would give the Vine team ideas to help them move forward. Newsflash, the next day, Vine said, screw you, told all these creators, and these creators have not been paid to this day, told all these creators that they told a big lie, and the Viners spoke out on this. The Vine team said the creators and us came up with a solution to shut down Vine. That is far from the truth. The truth is the Viners wanted to move forward and did not mind they didn't mind not getting paid for several years if it meant the platform could continue successfully. That is not what happened. Corey, Brendan, all these Viners were betrayed, and that leads to where we are now for their part one of their scheme. They felt like the former Vine team was just rubbing salt into their wounds, so they wanted to get revenge. I can't say I would do the same, but I feel like if I had the opportunity, I would, but I wouldn't, now think, being through this whole scenario and everything, I would never do something that far, but I see their, why they would do it sort of thing. Two, they wanted to bring in an investor because they just wanted a way to make money off of this. Again, it makes no sense to me why they were throwing all sorts of money into useless things like paying creators to engage in this platform, wasting money on parties, even though they knew the platform wasn't doing well. That doesn't make sense to me, right? They might have actually been investing this money to this platform because they actually believed in it, but I just don't see why they were making so many horrible mistakes. Like that, you can't explain that. These people might not be the villains, like I said, we're making them out to be, but I just can't come up with any other explanation. So then huddles happen. They got the news. They have all these connections that they've probably paid for, like Times News, their own media, apparently through Medium. That's another story on their own, on its own, their own news platform, announcing that they are rebranding to Huddles and that this was the most successful platform on the world, but then you go to the app and it's like the most broken thing ever. And there's like practically maybe at that point, not even like 10 people using it daily. So all that in mind, they were getting these investors hyped up to do what they just did 2 weeks ago. And that is they sold out. Hear me out, because this kind of scheme has happened in the past over and over and over again, and every time I think about it, even I gotta go down, but every single time it even comes to my mind because this scheme happens over and over and over again. and it sickens me. I might be wrong. The entire time they owned Clash Byte Huddles, whatever it's going to be called now, because they sold it again. This entire time, they were purposely running it into the ground and making it look like it was the best thing on the planet to the news, the media. And I'm not that kind of person like, oh, the news media lies, you know. I don't really like to delve into politics that much because like I'm more about like creating, and I'm just the guy that just exists, you know. I just am here to leave an impact on the world, basically. But this right here, they basically had every investor believing that this was the best app on the platform. Newsflash, they found someone stupid to buy it, and they got their payout. They're gone. They like, I don't care what they say on LinkedIn. I don't care what they say on social media. They're gone. They can wipe their hands, right? They wasted money on this platform. One, feel bad for them, but not really. And they got their payout. They got what they wanted. They got their exit. They got the money they wanted for their shares, and they can now go to any other social media team, TikTok, which is what Brendan apparently helped with before. The CEO, by the way, just so you guys know who that is. These guys can, not all of them, but these guys can now go to other teams because they look like the hero. They look like the person that tried to save Vine, and they can go get their dream job. Screw all these creators that put their time into this platform. They got their payout. They got their exit strategy. This company they ran is millions in dollars of debt because they've wasted, I could be wrong, but because they've wasted money on keeping certain things going that shouldn't have been going. And they wasted money on creators that never stay on the platform. And they wasted money on parties, drinking, all this bad stuff. And now the company is in millions of dollars of debt. I feel bad for whoever, because it's not just us. We didn't get screwed over alone. I feel bad for whoever invested in them originally. And I feel bad for whoever bought the company today, because now that person, whoever owns it, I heard it's a creator team. So whatever team owns it, they are now going to be responsible for digging the company out of millions of dollars of debt because of what negligence, what hypocrisy. I can go on for days about like all these big words about what they did to Clash and what they did to these creators and biters, and ran it into the ground just to get their payouts and just to get their exit strategy, just to get their day, what they feel like, just to get their money and to get what they felt like was their big revenge. I hope they feel like they've accomplished something, because we didn't. So that was about an hour and 13 minutes, but we had to get our thing out. I guess we're going to summarize here a little bit. I think Eric kind of like dipped out for a little bit. I guess he might be back, but because we have to do his show too. But yeah, I think on his show I'm probably going to nail that story down a little bit, because I think we want to have a 2-part. I think I just did the 2 parts there, but that's Huddles for you. That's Clash. That's what happened, and that's as shitty as it is, it happened, and a lot of us have to move on. And now we technically own Byte. We're number one. My studio, these guys' studio now, because they're a part of the studio, got the rights because A, it's public domain now. 2, I reached out to someone in Clash Huddles who said, yeah, we don't care if you have it. We're leaving anyways. So we have Byte. we're planning to, if things work out, it's going to take a while, but we plan to try to relaunch it. And that's where we're at today. So, yeah.
Wow. That was quite a story there, mate.
Yeah. I want to try to keep it short because I know we want to do like a two-parter kind of a thing, but I
Yeah.
just can't. It's just so hard. Like once you get into it, it's like so hard to keep what they did private for so long. So
Yeah.
And that's it for the first part of this 2-part episode. Originally, I would have put the second part for Eric Taylor's podcast. However, during that recording, Eric messaged me on Discord saying, "You can have the second part. You don't need to cut it up." Well, in my defense, I did actually cut it up, but I still would have sent that part to him anyway. But if he says if he says he doesn't want it, let me have the second part on the E01 show. That's fine. Fair enough. I'll respect his wishes, like I always try to do with a lot of people. But yeah. And of course, if you have some free time, or have can't speak. If you have free time to spare, I do suggest check out Taylor Rate Me. It's a quality podcast, in my opinion. It goes into I don't know how to describe it, but it's just brilliant, really. He deserves the recognition that he's getting. But other than that, until next time, stay tuned for more.